Good morning, sister girl. It is November 6th, 2023. Yeah, November 6th, 2023. And it is day one. I'm going to, I'm not sure if I'm going to be doing a daily recap, but I'm going to recap day one and the start of day two. So day one, just for anyone who may not know, I started I was gonna say a challenge, but it's not a challenge. It just sounds, but I started a Bible plan that I plan on completing in 90 days, right? So it's reading the entire Bible from Genesis to Revelation in 90 days, but in chronological order. And there's a Bible plan called Chronological in 90 days, and I started it last night, and it took me about an hour or so. I chose the GNT version, which is the Good News Translation. I was going to go with the ESV because that's actually the version that I like to study in, or the Christian Standard Bible, but I chose the GNT to listen. And I found that to be the best option for me because it would be easier for me to understand as I'm listening to it. And yesterday, the speed that I chose was 1.5. As I was listening to day two this morning, as I was in the shower, I'm like, dang, this is pretty fast. I don't know if it was because I was sitting down, not doing anything at all, other than just sitting on the couch as Edison was watching a football game, and I was listening with my AirPods. And 1.5 didn't seem too fast, but as I was listening to it this morning, as I was in the shower, I'm like, wait, this is too fast. Because there's different narrators. I don't think it's the same narrator that is speaking through the entire version of it, but either way, I changed it to 1.25, which is much better for me now. So I'm considering re-listening to day one all over again, as I was planning to anyway, but at 1.25 speed. And I'm going to listen to day two. So I completed day two. So yesterday, day one took me about less than an hour. And the same for day two. And the goal is not, because I may finish this before 90 days. I may finish this a little after 90 days. The goal is not to get it done in 90 days. The goal is to be consistent and to be intentional. That's the goal. To be disciplined and to be consistent and to be intentional. And yeah. So as I was listening to it this morning, the book of Job, I remember reading the book of Job with Edison. I don't know if it was before we got married or when we were engaged, or I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. Car speeding and I'm driving my slow. Anyway, I don't remember if it was while we were engaged or before we got engaged or after we got married. I don't remember, but I do remember reading the book with him. We were reading it like from the start of the book to the end of it, like the entire book of Job. And well, I'm sure he remembers, but I remember the both of us being like, oh, that's crazy, and as I was listening to it this morning, there was so much that I'm like, I feel you, Job. But then I really can't feel him because what he experienced and what he went through is nothing compared to what I've gone through is nothing compared to what he experienced, right? But just the things that he was saying, how he was speaking to his friends, how he was like expressing himself to his friends, to those that were like questioning him, how he was like expressing himself to God. What else? How he was expressing himself to himself, and it's so good. I'm so glad that I am choosing to do this, I also realized in day one, so I would hear, there were certain things that were mentioned in the book of Genesis, or in the first several chapters of Genesis, that were also mentioned again in the book of Job, or towards the end of Genesis. Because yesterday I listened to Genesis 1 through 11, and then it jumped to, it went to Job 1, 2, and 3. Yesterday I was actually listening and reading it at the same time, like I was following it. This morning, obviously, I was just listening to it. But there were certain things that are repeated, but in different ways. So it's just like, or like in the different things that Adam and Eve experienced, how God showed up for them, and how he did the same for Cain and Abel. Like when he questioned Adam and Eve in the garden, when they hid, and how then God then questioned Cain. Right? Is it Cain or is it Abel? No, Cain. Yeah. Cain killed Abel. Yeah, so it's very interesting. And I love that I'm reading in chronological order, because it just makes sense to me. Like, now I understand how, I don't know. It's so good. It's so good. So I'm excited. So that's day one and day two. So day one I did last night. Day two I completed this morning, but I'm going to re-listen to day one and day two at 1.25 speed. I think that'll be a good speed. And let's see what my experience is listening to it while I'm at work. And what else? I think that's it. I just want to make sure that I highlight certain things that come to mind. I actually brought my notebook with me, a separate notebook for me to just jot down any thoughts, any insights, anything that I want to dive deeper into when in my own time of studying. Which again, I explained that there's a difference for me in reading and studying the Bible. Studying the Bible takes much longer, and a lot of research and a lot of looking up certain things just to have a better understanding, and I love it. I really love studying the Bible. But this time it's just listening or reading the Bible without digging into anything other than just wanting to jot down questions or insight, or just anything that comes to mind that I'm like, oh, okay, well, I want to look into this a little bit more. And there was something else that I wanted to mention. What was I going to say? There was something else on my mind. Can't remember. Back, I mean, if I remember what it was that I wanted to say, I'll probably mention it on tag. I can't stand when that happens to me. Whatever, it's cool. I'm sure maybe if I watch this video I'll remember what I wanted to say. We shall see. Anyway, toodles.